Welcome to the Fire and Earth podcast with your hosts, Jason Mefford and Kathy Groover. Fire and Earth, giving you the keys to unlock your limitless potential.
Welcome to another episode of the Fire and Earth podcast. I'm your co-host, Jason Mefford.
And I am Kathy Groover. And we're going to talk about a subject today that is all hot in the media and on a lot of people's minds and kind of controversial in a way. It's body image and weight gain and weight loss. And I shared with Jason before we got on the air that I just lost 16 pounds, which I'm really excited about and proud of. But what's fascinating about that, for those of you who know me or have seen pictures of me or have seen my aerial or my trapeze, most people look at me and go, you don't need to lose weight. Well, I thought I did. It was the heaviest I ever was. I was really uncomfortable in my own body. My clothes weren't fitting. I would put on a speaking dress at a conference and it was uncomfortable for me to be in my clothes. And so I got on Noom. I get nothing from Noom. It's not, it's kind of a plug for Noom because it really worked. But I'm down 16 pounds in like 3 or 4 months. And I'm really proud of myself because I worked really hard. But what I shared with Jason is I grew up with horrible body image issues, horrible disordered eating, not to the point where I had something diagnosable like anorexia or bulimia, but for many years, my diet was Mountain Dew, M&Ms, and diet pills. I started taking diet pills like my junior year of high school. And to look at a picture of me my junior year in high school, I did not need to lose weight.
No, because I remember you posted like one of the pictures, or you showed me one of the pictures of when you were younger. I think when we were talking about how we were dressing, and I was like,
socks, yeah.
Dang, Kathy was like a skeleton. You know, there was nothing to you.
Yeah, I was 5'8" and probably 120 pounds, if not a little bit less. And my dance instructor was incredibly abusive. And some people listening might have been in dance class with him, so I'm not going to say his name. They vilified. Is that good or bad?
Vilified usually bad, I think.
Okay, right? They like put the guy on the pedestal, and I remember a couple of years ago when he passed away, everybody on Facebook was like, he was the biggest influence, and he was so. And I'm thinking, do you remember how horrible he was to us? So between a dance instructor convincing me that I was fat and the media, you want to talk about Kellogg's and Can You Pinch an Inch? That really fucked with my head, because what they didn't tell you is that these people that they showed in this commercial were pinching skin. You know, they showed really slender people pinching, and it was skin. And I looked at that as a very thin 15 or 16-year-old and thought, oh no, I'm fat. And it messes with your head. So here I am now, a 3-year-old woman, and the body images stay with me. So we're going to do just a quick conversation about this today. But I thought it was an important conversation to have.
Yeah, and I think it's important. You know, I think a lot of times, probably again, just because a lot of the media attention and our society in general, this is probably something that women deal with more than men. But this is also a man issue.
Yep.
Too, right. And so I think I want to make sure that we bring that in too, because I was the same way. I mean, growing up in high school, I was fit. I had a 6-pack ab. I was running 5 to 8 miles a day. I was 5'9", 140, 145, but muscular, right? And again, I'm a 40-something-year-old man too, right? And
yeah, let's talk about aging. That's a whole other show.
We'll talk about that on a different one. But over my life, I've gained weight, I've lost weight, I've gained weight, I've lost weight, right? To a point to where I was probably up close to, I was at least probably 230, if not 240. So I was almost 100 pounds.
Wow.
Heavier than I was when I was in high school, right? Which again, I didn't, when you see the gradual buildup, you don't really realize it until you see a picture of yourself and you're like, who's that lard ass, right? That's not me. I had this big kind of bulging neck and I was like, that is not me. And I knew, for me, once I hit like a 38 waist, I'm like, fuck it, this is not going to happen.
Yep.
And so I've worked, I've been using more of the mental side of it and treating my body better and trying to be kinder to myself from a body image side. I don't even know what I weigh now because I haven't weighed myself in a long time, but I know I'm losing weight because I'm back down to a 32-inch waist.
I would say you are, since I met you and we've known each other, what, 4 or 5 years now? When did we start doing a podcast?
It's been probably 5 years.
You were definitely heavier when I met you than you are now. I've watched you. We both have, like, if you look back at our own podcast, like our faces are thinner, and which is, I just want to be healthy, and I just want people to feel good in their body. And it's this is going to sound so poor me. There have been so many times in my life when I'm going to a gym, or I was doing Curves for the longest time. Curves is made, it's a chain, it's a franchise, and it's made for women. It's only women who want to tone up, lose weight. And the majority of the women that I saw there were on the heavier side, right? They were not my size. And I was skinny shamed at Curves. I was working out and I was trying really hard and I was seeing progress. And I had more than one person say, look at you, you don't even need to be here. And it's like, that was actually so hurtful to me, because just because I look cute in the outfit doesn't mean I could run up the stairs and not be like, I was there for fitness. And I think, this whole embrace your body and, the fat shaming aspect, fat shaming is horrible. And there was a woman in my dance class the other night that was going off the rails about how disgusted she was by fat, her own fat, and how if she was skinny, she'd never work out. She'd just lay on the couch. And it sparked a conversation between her and two people who were chronically underweight, and how many health issues they were having. And I could see them getting so hurt by what she was saying about her own body. People just need to feel good and they need to be healthy. And my concern about, not trying to encourage fitness from people is the health ramifications that are on the other side of that, right? But I eventually stopped going to Curves because I was so tired of hearing these older women basically shame me for trying to stay fit and be on the more slender side. So when I've said to people in the past, hey, I'm trying to lose weight, you don't need to lose weight. It's like, well, that's kind of not really up to you, right? I mean, it's up to the person and if they're comfortable in their bodies. So I've told a couple people that I lost 16 pounds and they go, where'd that cut? You didn't need to lose that. It's like, but I did, because I lost 16 pounds and I'm not too skinny. I mean, it's just, this weight thing is so hard because it's such an individual journey. And for people who have struggled with massive weight loss, they're probably looking at me like, oh, you poor thing, you had to lose 16 pounds. I feel for anybody that is struggling with weight or body image, because it sucks to look in the mirror and hate yourself. And God, I could cry. I had so many days of that where I looked in the mirror and was disgusted by my own self. And I don't admit that to a lot of people. So this is a new thing for probably a lot of people to hear, but it was the worst feeling at any size.
Well, like I said, it was news to me as well, and we've been friends for 5 years.
Yep.
I didn't know some of the things that you had dealt with, and I think it's important, because again, I mean, there's a multi-billion-dollar industry around weight loss, right?
Yeah.
And so there's a bunch of people that are out there trying to sell diet pills or exercise things or whatever, right? Telling people that they're fat. The whole BMI thing is a farce, right? I mean,
yeah.
If you look at what your BMI calculation is, we'd all be skin and bones kind of a thing, right? But anyway, but I think what we're not necessarily talking about weight or weight loss, but body image, right? And can you be comfortable? Can you be loving to yourself?
Yep.
Regardless of how much you weigh, how little you weigh, right? Because, like Kathy was saying, I mean, you were already quote unquote skinny, right? Based on what society would tell you.
Sure.
Right. But you were still having body image issues, right? So maybe let's just dig into that a little bit, because like I said, I mean, you're here willing to share, which is great, but what are some of those things that, again, people probably, we end up seeing ourselves naked in the mirror, right? You get out of the shower, whatever, right? And what thoughts go through your head, right? Everybody that's listening, when you see yourself naked, because most of the time we're dressed up, we've got clothes on, most people's clothes are a little bit baggy, because they don't want to see, or they want to
Yep.
hide certain things. But for people that are, I guess maybe the first thing is, well, do I have a body image issue? So how are some ways, or like for you, I mean, how did you come to have that awareness that, oh my gosh, maybe I do have body image issues, right? Because again,
Yeah.
I think a lot of people, when it's thrown out there, it's like, well, if you're morbidly obese on the BMI scale, then okay, well, maybe I need to do something, right? But again, that's weight.
Yep.
That's not necessarily body image, because again, I've seen, women that are 300, 400 pounds, they feel sexy.
Yep.
They are sexy.
Yep.
They bring it, right? And I've also seen people who look like supermodels that are just the most miserable,
Yep.
unsexy people that are out there because they have the body image issues. So,
Yep.
so I guess first off, how do people realize, for people that are listening, how do they know maybe you do have something, maybe this is something that you need to explore more?
Yeah.
Um,
I think it's about how you talk to and about yourself, and the feeling that you get when you look in the mirror. If you seriously do have a weight issue and you want to be healthier because things like type 2 diabetes are creeping in, or then loving yourself as you are in this moment is so important, and reaching towards something else, right? So you want to make those changes, and you have to meet yourself where you are and love yourself there. And luckily, I have a partner who was so supportive of me. And the days I'd look in the mirror and I'd pinch something and make a very judgmental, nasty face about myself, he'd go, "Babe, you're beautiful. You look amazing." Like, he embraced my body, literally and figuratively, loved my body at whatever size it was, and also supported me on this journey, because it was a healthy journey. It wasn't me grabbing the latest diet fad that I found on Instagram, which I also went through, where I'm like, oh, that pill seems to work, and why don't I try that pill? And I can't tell you how many empty bottles or boxes of shit that I have under my medicine thing in the bathroom of these pills that I tried. There were fat burners, or, I tried all of that stuff because that's what I did when I was in high school. I was on Dexatrim, which
I
was
remember that. Yeah. I think it's
and
banned now, isn't it? I
I'm
don't
sure
know.
it is. But there was a part that's like, "Nah, I could probably find that on a black market." And there was when I did murder mysteries in LA, there was oh my God, what is it called? It was a like multi-level marketing thing, but it's still around. Very, very well-known nutraceutical and supplement company. And they had something called green and beige. They labeled their pills according to color. So every day you take 2 green and 1 beige, and then later in the day you take 2 green and 1 beige. I felt so good. I had energy. It boosted my immune system. I was staying at a healthy weight. Come to find out years later, that had fen-phen in it. Fen-phen is the diet pill that they banned because,
Yeah.
5 people had heart attacks. But it was so frustrating because that combination of whatever this green and beige was, that was like the best I felt in my life. And I had some seriously obese clients who the only way they stayed at a healthy weight was on fen-phen. So for a lot of really obese people, I should not have been taking it. For a lot of really obese people, that was the saving grace for them. And when they pulled it from the market, they were so depressed and upset because that was the one thing that kept them at a healthy weight or healthier weight. So I think the first thing is, can you love yourself right as you are? And can you look in the mirror and say, I love me just as I am right at this moment? Doesn't mean you're not shooting for something else. Doesn't mean you're not still working towards a different goal. But the problem that I had was I couldn't look in the mirror and love what my body was looking like. And it still ekes in even 16 pounds less. I was in, of all things, Target the other day. And side note, I so appreciate society starting to put real looking models in bathing suits, underwear, dresses. I was in Target the other day, grabbed some panties, and the display was a very, still slender, but real looking woman. And I'm going to stand up and demonstrate. She had turned from the side, and she had a little pucker here. She had skin that crinkled there, which in the past, they either would have hired a model that didn't have that, or they would have airbrushed it out.
Yep.
They showed her on her back. And you know what my first thought was? Oh, that was my first thought of a
Well, because that's what you've been conditioned from society to think.
I have been conditioned to think that all the skin is taut and stretched without a mark on it. They fucking airbrush it. It is not real. You know, I know models who were size 2 who, when they twist their back that way, it's skin. It's holding our organs in. You know, and it was just this, and I had to like reframe that. I'm standing in Target staring at this. People must have thought I was crazy. Standing at this, you know, staring at this woman in underwear going, oh, and having this conversation in my head. We all have wrinkles, folds, cellulite, stretch marks. We all have them. We are not walking around in an airbrushed world. And the key is figuring out a way to love yourself with every mark and every scar and every bump and every lump of fat. We have to start to do that. And I don't, other than just trying to change your mind or getting professional help, I don't know the absolute answer to it.
Well, I know, but I mean, some of the things we've kind of talked about before on the podcast, some of the different practices or things that you can do from an affirmation perspective.
Yeah.
I mean, if you want to, you know, really do one, I think it was the book that I read called Love Yourself Like Your Life Depends on It or something like that.
Oh, yeah.
And in that book, he talks about kind of a mirror exercise like that, where you stand in front of the mirror and you tell yourself that you love yourself.
Mm-hmm.
Right. But you look right into your eyes, you look at your whole body,
Yep.
you almost do kind of a body scan and talk about different parts of your body, even to the point like, oh, that little roll of fat here, I love you. Right.
Mm-hmm.
And when you can actually sit there and start to do it, it's uncomfortable as fuck to begin with.
Yeah.
When you try to do it. Right. But as you start to do it, right, I mean, again, you've got to realize that your soul is different than your physical body, right? And so the more you can express love for your physical body, right, in how you treat it,
yep,
in how you talk to it, right, you get a different relationship with your body. I mean, again, if you're telling your body you're fat or you're skinny or I hate you,
you're ugly, you're disgusting,
then you're not going to have a very good relationship with your body. And so a lot of it starts with some of that stuff as well, right?
Yep.
I mean, you've worked through some of it because obviously, again, I mean, you've lost the weight. You're doing some things, but I'm going to kind of poke you a little bit here because I'm sure you're doing a lot more than you actually realize as well.
Sure. Well, and I can tell you some of the things I've done. I mean, I sat in front of a mirror on the floor, and this was when I was at my heaviest. And see, and it's terrible. I even feel like shit saying that because there's so many people struggling with weight loss who think my heaviest, they would dream of being at my heaviest, right? So I'm just going to use my experience. At my heaviest, which was very uncomfortable for me, I sat in the mirror and sitting, you know, all the fat rolls up and the skin rolls up, and I loved it. I touched it and I squished it and I looked in the mirror and I said, I love this part of me and I love this part of me and I love this part of me. The other thing I did is I wrote a letter to my body, appreciating everything it's done, how it moves me. I can do freaking trapeze. I dance class. You know, it's like I would start to try to shift the focus to praising what my body could do as opposed to what it looked like. Because I have some clients who are on that heavier side who can fucking outrun me. They're biking hundreds of miles and they're running marathons, and it's like, good for you. They're so fit compared to some skinny person, right? So it's really about the function, not the look. And the other thing I did is I started doing affirmations, and I downloaded an app called I Am, and you get to program what kind of affirmations that you want to get. And right now I have it on Think Positive. You can do affirmations for body positivity. And like the one that just popped up is, I refuse to let my mind bully my body. And so every 2 hours, I get an affirmation that pops up. This one, my body is strong and resilient. I deserve to feel good about myself. And so for a while, as I was going through the Noom process, I had it set to body positivity, so that throughout the course of the day, anytime I looked at my phone, there was a positive message about my body. So those were a couple things I did. And I also decided that, Noom, which is a very psychological based program, was a lot healthier for me than trying the next diet pill that, showed up on, and
Trying to
Instagram
find
was
Dexatrim on the black market.
they're like, yeah, trying to find fen-phen. I mean, it's like, how do I get it? Because it worked. And, I can now look at pictures of myself, and that was one of the other things that triggered, oh, geez, I would like to lose some weight. I was looking at pictures of me doing aerial and some things, and I was like, I don't feel good about how that looks. And now I look in the mirror and I take pictures, and I feel so much more comfortable in my body. And I also recognize that as a 50-year-old woman, this might not last. And as we age, we tend to get thicker. We tend to put on 2 pounds a year as we age. And there's ways to stave that off. And also, as we age, sometimes it's healthier to have a little bit more weight on, right? I mean, you don't want to be one of those hyper skinny older people. So I don't know. It's a balance point, and it's really just about acceptance where you are. And I had trouble with that one. I had a girlfriend say to me, why don't you just accept where you are? And I almost burst into tears and said, I can't. It's that outer, I'm going to blame the outer influences of growing up in a time where it was drilled in my head that as a 118-pound, 5'8" dancer, I was fat. It fucked with my head. It really did.
Well, and I think we should talk about some of those outside influences at the same point too, because I think, again, if you're somebody who's, again, gonna do the mirror work, right? Write the affirmation, do the affirmations, do the things like that. Good, do it, please do it. But be careful of the outside influences as well, right? Because again, I talk about, if you don't want to get wet, don't live under a rain cloud, right? Because if you live under a rain cloud, you're like the little bird, just trying to shake your feathers all the time to get dry so you can fly again, but it's like constantly raining on you.
Yep.
And so there's some of the outside influences that's fairly easy for you to deal with, right?
Yep.
Don't go buy glamour magazines, right?
Yeah.
That puts some unrealistic stereotype on what beauty is, or things like that, right? Just stop watching those things, right?
Yeah.
Stop consuming media.
Oh God.
That can be damaging or negatively reinforces some of this stuff. But the big one, the elephant in the room that a lot of you might need to address is some of your relationships.
Yep.
Right? Because again, you're lucky with your partner telling you, Kathy, you're beautiful. You look great the way that you are. Come here, I want to touch you, right? Kind of thing.
Yep.
That is positive and reinforcing and supports what you're trying to do. Yep. Right. But I know at the beginning you talked about your dance instructor when you were a teenager. Yep. Right. That's an outside influence, a relationship where, what were some of the things that he was saying to you?
Oh, he would make these blanket announcements to the group about how, if you want to be a professional dancer, you need to keep your weight down and you need to stay thin. And there was one class that he didn't say a word. It was a look. The move that we did ended up, we have hips. I was probably 17 at this point. So I was starting to, I was through puberty. I was starting to develop hips. That's what women get. We get hips. And I'm hippie. That's just my shape. And we did a move where this squished, right? Which is going to happen if you lift your leg up. It's called flesh. And I remember looking in the mirror and kind of poking it because I realized, oh, I have that. And I don't think, it's hard to remember because it was a very long time ago. I don't think I was judging it. I think I just kind of looked in the mirror and went, oh, and like squished it. And I looked over at him and he looks at me and he goes, and like looks me up and down with this, see, you are fat look on his face. And for especially young people, looks like that non-direct communication, that inferred communication is so damaging because you think they're not seeing, they are absolutely seeing that. If you look at them and kind of go, they're seeing that, and that's getting into their subconscious. And I remember that moment so clearly as me going, I don't want anyone to ever look at me like that again. I must be fat. I better fix that. just that look from him of, told you. So he was just, there was a bigger girl in my dance class who was such an incredible dancer. And the dance instructor and his wife, they were both Broadway dancers, would make comments about her weight. And it's like, it affected the entire class. And then, the commercials, Kellogg's was horrible at drilling into my head that I was fat. Can you pinch an inch? I remember I sent away for their little like health and diet pamphlet, and it talked about the thigh gap. I had big legs. I was a dancer. I never had the thigh gap. And I would stand in the mirror desperately trying to make my legs have this. I'm a dancer. I have very strong legs. And just, things people around me have said where, they'll see a commercial or they'll see a gymnast and they'll go, she has big legs. And it's like, okay, then that must mean I have big legs because that's what I look like. So it was just kind of from all over. And it was definitely the media and definitely my dance instructor. And I have clients and friends who are dancers, gymnasts, models, aerialists, who it has been drilled in their head that they need to look a certain way. And that sucks. And society needs to shift their focus. Just like I looked at this ad in Target and went, ugh, that's what a real person looks like. But it's been drilled into my head that we don't have fat and we don't have marks. Please get off social media. And this is for men too. I know men that have disordered eating and distorted body images because they want to be bigger. They want to be strong. They want to look like that guy in the mirror in that post. And, they pump themselves up. They get the exact right lighting. They figure it out how they're going to look their best. You see them sitting on the toilet at 5 o'clock in the morning. They look like hell too. No one looks
well,
good.
and it's the same thing, right? Like you said, I mean, and actually, it is not healthy to be that ripped and to be that muscular in a lot of ways for a man. But again, that's kind of the image that society puts out there. And, especially for somebody maybe who's single, that's trying to find a partner, a lot of times they feel the same way, like, well, nobody's going to love me because I'm fat. I've got a little dad belly. I'm, 40 or 50 years old and I've gained a little bit of weight, and so that it's like you said, it's true for men as well.
Absolutely.
Right.
Yeah.
But I think what's important too, like you said, is sometimes you're going to have people like the dance instructor who, when you go to dance class, you're gonna feel that influence. Now you can choose to just stop going to dance class. That's fine. Right. You can do that. You can pick a different dance instructor. You can talk to the person. When it comes to your personal relationships, then it gets a little bit more tricky, right? Because again, if you're someone who is struggling with body image issues and you have a partner who is constantly telling you that you're fat, that you're ugly, that you're stupid, right? Maybe you need to have a discussion with them about, hey, I don't appreciate it when you talk to me that way.
Yeah.
Because maybe they don't realize it. Maybe they don't realize it, and maybe they'll change, right? But some people do this as a way to manipulate the other partner.
Prime narcissist stuff, right? You keep the person so beaten down that they can't leave you. If I keep telling them they're fat and they're worthless and they're ugly, they're not going to leave. It's a control thing, and it's so insidious and so scary. That's a talk for a whole nother episode.
Well, it is, but again, just to kind of, if that's the relationship that you're in now and you want to change, you're probably going to need to leave the relationship, because it's hard as hell to do the self-work.
Yeah.
It's impossible. It's not impossible, but it's damn near impossible to be successful at doing your own work when someone else is fighting against that work the whole time.
Yeah. It's also hard to look in the mirror and say, I love myself, when you're surrounded with somebody that's telling you you're a piece of shit.
Yeah.
That's really difficult. And, the bottom line of this is, okay, yay, I lost the 16 pounds and I feel great. I'm happy. What happens if I gain back 20? Can I still love myself? And I'm struggling with that one. It's like, I'm happy now because I feel comfortable in my body again and I feel healthy and my clothes fit again. I need to learn to love myself 30 pounds heavier, 10 pounds thinner. I need to shift my mindset. And that's been a struggle because for some years, I haven't had the influence to do that. what happened to me in the past is still affecting me now. And that also drives me crazy because this is what I teach people. So there's a part of it that's like, you shouldn't, oh, fuck him. And I need to work on shifting my mindset so that at whatever weight I'm at, I can still love myself. So that's my journey and my struggle right now. It wasn't about the weight loss. It was about my mindset and the self-love part, which is what I teach people.
Well, and what's interesting, I mean, again, we're not perfect. We're just sharing what we know and sharing our experiences. We're still struggling, going through challenges, just like all of you that are listening to this, right? But it's the interesting thing of what I found, because I haven't been doing anything other than kind of the self-work, right? I haven't been exercising like I should. I need to. I'm losing weight. I'm feeling better, but I'm not as healthy as I could be. I need to incorporate more of the exercise into my life. But what's the interesting thing is Kathy, you said you're kind of worried. Well, can I still love myself 30 pounds heavier? Well, the interesting thing is when you truly love yourself and you're accepting of yourself exactly as you are, I'll bet you will not gain that 30 pounds back.
Oh, that's true.
If you can maintain, right, that love for yourself and that love for your body will regulate itself. Right.
Yeah.
So one of the affirmations that I do for myself is I don't worry so much about what I eat. I mean, I do. I've cut out almost all sugar. Usually I have a little bit of sugar in my creamer with my coffee. And then sometimes at night I'll have some chocolate or a few cookies or something like that. But I don't really eat sugar or that many carbs.
Yeah, you're not drinking sodas every day.
Yeah, I'm not drinking soda or doing anything like that. But I also don't worry about necessarily how much I eat. I try to portion control a little bit, but if I feel like eating this, then I eat that. But one of the things that I say to myself is my body uses what it needs and flushes the rest.
Yep.
Right. So that's one of the things that I say to myself regularly is my body uses what it needs and flushes the rest. So if I eat something that's a little bit toxic, if it's something that would maybe add weight to me that I don't really need, if I eat more than I should, I'm reminding my body it's okay to flush that.
Yep.
Right? And so it goes through, baby. And some days, again, if I don't eat very clean, if I overdo it, I flush a lot the next couple of days, right? And so, again, it's if you're talking to your body that way, it knows what to do.
Yeah.
If you cut yourself, your body knows how to heal the cut. You don't even have to place any conscious awareness on it. It'll just take care of itself.
Yeah.
So don't you think it can do the same thing with food? If we're loving, if we're reminding, if we're saying things like that, and that's what I've kind of seen. Like I said, and it's been working for me.
Yeah.
Because like you said, I mean, I'm down probably at least 40, if not
I say probably
50
pounds
from when we first met.
Yeah. Well, and I love what you said, your point about if I have the self-love, I'm probably not going to put the weight back on. The reason the weight came on in the first place was divorce, loss of my father, loss of a relationship that I thought was going to be maybe my next partner, and then an injury. I hurt my back to the point where I had to kind of learn how to walk normally over the course of a year. So grief. And then injury and COVID. My injury happened literally the week that we shut down for COVID. I was not experiencing a hell of a lot of self-love after divorce, loss of my father, who was my best friend, and the loss of that relationship. So I was kind of abusing my body. I was eating and drinking whatever I wanted. So it was the weight came on from that place of me not loving myself, from depression, of grief, of all those heavy emotions that I was eating. And I was like, fuck it, I'm gonna eat whatever I want. I can always be thin. And my body went, not anymore. So you're right. So the weight came on to me from a place of not loving myself. And so as long as I keep loving myself, it's probably not going to go back on. You're completely right. So that was a nice little moment of clarity for me right there.
Well, and but again, it's that simple but consistent work.
Yeah.
Right. So again, that's the thing too, right? Is it's like, you lose all the weight, great. Well, if part of that has been loving yourself, doing the mirror work, doing your affirmations, keep doing them.
Yeah, of
right.
course.
Don't stop, because that's again why people yo-yo back and
Ugh.
forth so much is, they're really good, they're really dedicated, they're really disciplined in doing stuff for a few months. They accomplish whatever it is, weight loss, financial, whatever it happens to be. They're really committed for a short period of time. They get the results they want. They go back
to eating and drinking whatever they want. Yeah.
So what do you think is going to happen, right? So just continue doing some of those things that have helped you to be successful to get there, and you won't have to worry about those things again.
Yep. I agree. Well, we had no idea where this was going to go. Okay.
No, and this ended up being we thought it was going to be a little short episode.
No, yeah. Let's talk about body image in like 10 minutes. Right. That's not going to happen. Okay. We should stop. Yeah. But anyway, so I'm proud of myself, and it's still a work in progress, and I'm still working on loving myself, whatever I look like.
Well, and I'm proud of you too, Kathy. I mean, that's good on you, girl.
Thanks.
And I'm going to continue fighting my fight as well. Because again, it's like I said at the start, and we touched on it in the middle too, this is not just a female issue. This is a male issue as well. And so we just tend to see things differently, right? Where women, it's usually fat shaming or skinny shaming just about weight.
Yeah.
For men, it's more about your physique, right? How athletic you are, what you're able to do, the muscular structure that you have as well, right? And so again, these are all things that are being fed to us by people who want to take your money to, try to get you to look in a certain way that you can't anyway, because it's all airbrushed and photoshopped.
Yeah, so, right. Right. It's not even a realistic goal.
It's not even a realistic goal. So anyway, just love yourself, be healthy, have a good body image, start doing some of the things that we talked about. There's some self-work that you can do.
Yep.
Take a look at your relationships, the things that you're consuming, see if any of those outside influences need to go away as well. Because when you do, you'll start to feel more at peace. You'll feel happier. When you love yourself, you can love others more as well. And you will start to realize that your life will start to change in ways that you never even imagined.
Yeah, more good stuff will come.
More good stuff.
All right. I'm Kathy Groover. I can be reached at kathygroover.com.
And I'm Jason Mefford. I can be reached at jasonmefford.com. So go out, have a great week, and we'll see you on the next episode of the Fire and Earth podcast. See ya.